How do you get your parrots to breed or not breed? Those are questions that we got. Hi, I'm Kaylin, the author of the Parrot Bliss Bond. This is Ketsy, my white-bellied kayik. His three buddies are up in that palm tree right over there. Ooh. And we're going to talk to you about breeding. So, if you want your parrots to breed, then it's super important that you take some of the principles of being a parrot keeper and really super live them. So what I mean by that is make sure your parrot is having an extreme close-up and eating your camera. Hey, get away from the camera! Don't eat my phone, please. Come here, cats. And what I mean by that for the breeding is ideally make sure that your parrots have plenty of space, the couple. Space, movement means health. Make sure that you keep your cage as clean as possible. In cleanliness, you're going to have better results than if the cage isn't kept clean, then you're going to have problems. You're going to have illness. Make sure your parrots are super healthy. A healthy parrot that's happy and in a clean environment is far more likely to breed than a parrot that is unhappy and unhealthy. So a good diet is paramount. Now, next, in order for your parrots to breed, some species absolutely must pick their mate and like their mate, otherwise it's never going to happen. For example, my understanding, I've never bred macaws, so I don't know. My understanding is that macaws have to like their mate, and they can be particular. If they likey, you're going to get babies. If they no likey, it's not going to happen. In that case, they may be like, the two macaws may be like as far apart as they can be. My kayaks, for example, I have two pairs of kayaks. This one's Ketsy, if I didn't already say so. They are old enough to breed and they don't feel like it, so they don't. I keep things clean, so clean that my parrotlets have been prolific, but I'm done breeding. So I have a couple babies left, but then I'm taking a break. Right now, I'm on the no breeding program. So I've kept things clean enough, and I've also really made sure that they have a good, healthy diet so that I had, you know, my parrotlets did great. But maybe my kayaks don't like each other. I think they do. They play together. They seem bonded. And with some species like conures, you could tell when they're bonded because conures are like this. They're just like cuddled up next to each other. Kind of the way, actually, Ketsy is with me. He likes me. He flew down from the palm tree to be with me. Didn't you, sweetie? Because we like each other. Whereas there are other species like senegals. My understanding is that they will be as far apart from each other as they can be, then they breed, and then they go back to being far apart. So know your species, research your species as much as you can. Sometimes I think there's great information out there. Sometimes I think there's no information out there. Maybe there's something in the middle, but you know, for breeding, finding information isn't always easy, and of course it also depends on the species. So if you want to breed, we said, as best you can, let them choose their mate. Even the parrotlets, that works better for me. Number two, make sure, don't put a hole in my shirt, okay? This is my new, look at this, Love is Parrot. I love my shirt. It's available on my website, or it will be. But yours won't have a hole in it. Mine, very soon, mine will. Look at that. Look at that. So, sorry, we said, let them pick their mate, give them plenty of space, keep things super clean, give them a great diet. And at the right time of year, depending on where you live in the world, that kind of thing, when spring will be coming, when winter's, like during the winter, give them some seeds. That is an indicator that when seeds are sprouting and there's seeds, that's an indicator that nature is going to be abundant and it's a good year to have babies. If you don't want your parrots to breed, because we had both questions, then Number one, withhold those seeds. Let them know that there's no abundance in the breeding sense. In other words, you still, of course, want to keep everything as clean as possible for your parrot. You still want to give them great food, great vegetables every morning with beta carotene, but you can give them sprouts, but omit the seeds. Seeds are a clue directly for a good season. So don't give them that message. There's no reason you have to give your parrot seeds. If you have little parrots, it's good to give them some, but you don't have to give them a ton. So otherwise you're indicating to them that it's breeding season. So if you don't want them to breed, number one, no seeds. Of course, still keep things clean, still give them plenty of room, still give them those fresh vegetables. The other thing, don't give them a breeding box. For example, conures love having a box to sleep in. If you are not wanting your parrots to breed, no matter what species, omit the breeding box. If you want to give them a sleeper box, I will go get some pictures right now of my sleeper box. Because you can give them a sleeper box. A sleeper box is basically a box, a cube or whatever shape, that on the bottom, it has all the walls except the bottom wall. And that box, that's where they're going to sit and lay their eggs, that kind of thing, and incubate the eggs. In the sleeper box, there's no bottom, and instead, there's only does that show you? No. There's only the dowels or wood perches so that they can perch. And now they are covered above them, they're covered on the sides of them, but there's no bottom. So they can perch, and that means that there's no place to lay eggs, there's no place to sit. And that just has worked really well so far for me with the birds that I've given. Sweetie, don't put a hole in my shirt. Parrots love putting holes in shirts. That's worked really well for me, the sleeper box. The parrots that I just don't want them, I don't want them to fight. I don't want to have territory wars over the females, over the nest box. So instead, I have the sleeper box, and it's worked really well. Now, if you do these things, does that mean your parrots will breed, or does that mean your parrots won't breed? No. Parrots are like people. They do whatever the GBs, whatever the feather they want. And if they feather want to breed, man, I've had people write and say, I have a female African gray, there's no male, and she's laying eggs on the bottom of the cage. What do I do? My answer is, if you want, let her play it out. Put something down there, let her incubate her eggs. At some point she'll give up, but she'll kind of get it out of her system, at least for the season. And of course, I've had people say, I think I'm doing everything right. They've got the space, that it's clean, I'm feeding them really well. What? They're not breeding. I know this one guy who breeds African grays, and he has a store. And he told me his African grays waited. He got them, and they were sexually mature when his son was like in kindergarten, or was, I don't know, or a baby. I think a baby. And it wasn't until his son was going to college that they finally bred. It took them over 18 years. Parrots are like people. They're going to do whatever the feather they want. You like that? I mean, how perfect. Whatever the feather they want, because they've got feathers. So they're going to breed when they want to breed. And if you don't want them to breed, they probably won't want to breed. And if you don't want them to breed, they probably will. I mean, did I just say the same thing? You know what I mean. They have a mind of their own. So it's hard. I would say if you want to earn money, don't breed. Why do I say that? Because, on the one hand, you're under the impression that parrots are selling for so much money. It's incredible. However, you have to, first of all, be in the game of having places to sell them, and sell them at the right place and the right price. Number two, it's not like they just sit there and make babies. It's not like that at all. With a lot of parrots, for years, like any parrot where you're going to get a baby for $500 or more, it's going to take at least a year or two, if not 3, 4, or 5, for them to become sexually mature. And it could take, like I just said with an African gray, it could take almost 20 years for them to actually make a baby. In the meantime, you're cleaning the cage, you're feeding them every day, you're doing fresh vegetables every day. You're putting a lot of money and time and effort into them. Even if they are breeding, it doesn't mean that they'll always breed. It doesn't mean that they know how to be parents. It doesn't mean that they know how to incubate the eggs. it doesn't mean that they won't destroy their own eggs. 105 things can go right and 105 things can go wrong. So the breeding game is a game that it's an art just like everything else. And some people, you know, like some people have some birds that are really prolific, and smaller birds tend to be more prolific so that they're easier to breed. But if you are hoping to breed, for example, kikes, it could happen and it could not happen. And so my point is, I think you'd be better off getting a job at Starbucks. You'd get free coffee, I think, plus health insurance. Really, the and days off work, and probably sick days and probably vacation days. Whereas if you don't already know this, taking care of a parrot is a very daily job. There are no sick days, there are no vacation days. And I'm sure that the more you want them to breed, the less they do, kind of thing. Or like I said, they breed and there's just, they have to learn how to be a parent. There are issues that can happen with the babies. You have to keep the nest box clean. There's just a lot to be done. There are parrots that the babies get sick. It's a ball of wax. So please don't think that you're gonna like get a pair of parrots and like, it's like an ATM. Money's just gonna spit out, because it's really, really not like that. It's, you know, it's kind of like a farm. You just work all the freaking time and get holes in your clothes. Stop it, stop it. I don't want you to put holes in my clothes. I love you, but stop. Okay, I'm having too much fun with my cakeys out here. I like to call them cakeys. I understand that's what they call them down under or on the other side of the world. But my white-bellied pikes. Thank you for joining me in this blissful video. I hope that was a wealth of information for you. If you want to breed, if you don't want them to breed, and understanding that if you do want them to breed, kind of some of what you're up against, because I would hate for you to be mad at your birds or unhappy with your birds and like rehome them or I don't know what. If you have a love of parrots and a love of cleaning bird poop, you're in the right place. If you don't, eek! It's really a labor of love. So you gotta really be prepared. Thank you for joining me in this blissful video. I will catch you next time.